Welcome to Warsaw. The capital city is our fourth stop on our trip through Poland, so come along with us as we see what this city has to offer, as well as try some of its most delicious foods.
Well, our Airbnb here is a little bit out of city center, so we bought a 3-day pass on the public transit system for 36 zloty each.
Yes, and we took the bus to downtown today, and of course, per usual, we're starving, so we're gonna eat first, and then we're gonna come back and explore the castle.
We just finished up our delicious brunch, and I had the duck dumplings with fig sauce.
Yeah, those were very, very good. I got the potato pancakes, which were served with smoked salmon and sour cream. Very, very good as well. And then we tried the cheesecake as well, and we got 2 cappuccinos. All in all, it was a little bit expensive, but it is a restaurant right off of the square. But everything was very, very delicious. Now, I think, like I said, we're going to head back to the castle, see about getting some tickets.
So we decided to get the golden ticket, which was 100 zloty each.
Yes, it actually includes 3 sets of tickets because there are 3 different permanent exhibitions that you can see. And from what I saw online, you can do the 2 larger ones for 60 zloty each, and then the smaller one is just 20 zloty. So obviously it's a better deal to get the golden ticket. But the best deal of all is if you come on a Wednesday, it's all free. So it's a huge savings because these tickets are rather expensive. But as we mentioned before, through the rest of Poland, our weather has been quite variable. We've had a lot of rainy days, so we want to go ahead and do this while we have some nice sun.
The first section that we visited was the apartments. The rooms were decorated with period furniture and paintings. This castle dates back to the 14th century, when it was the residence of the Masovian dukes. In the 1600s, it became the home to the royal family when the capital was moved from Krakow to Warsaw. Unfortunately, it was almost completely destroyed during World War II. The second section of the museum housed a very impressive art collection, including 2 original Rembrandts, the girl in the picture frame and the scholar at his writing table. We aren't huge art buffs, but the 3-dimensional optical illusions in these paintings were quite impressive.
So it took us about 2.5 hours to get through the apartments and the gallery.
We did have an audio guide that was included with the ticket, so obviously we went a little slower. I think they should have like an express version of that audio guide though, because he went into a lot of detail and we just didn't listen to him in some of the rooms that kept going, because he was talking about like the symbolism of the flowers on the wallpaper, and I mean, it was more detailed than what I needed. But honestly, it was so beautiful in there. It's just sad to know that most of it was destroyed in World War II and then had to be reconstructed. We did learn that the castle finally opened to the public in, was it 1980 something? Yeah. So it took them a very long time to actually restore it, and it was completely restored with like funds and donations from the Polish people. So I thought that was cool. But we do have one more section of the museum to see. They told us to go outside, cross the courtyard, and go down the stairs. So.
So we just finished up in the Tin Roof Palace. which you could only really see the stuff on the second floor, and it was Prince Joseph's apartments.
Yeah, you could pay for an audio guide for 10 zloty extra. We did just pay for one, and it was the same very long-winded guy from the castle. I didn't listen to most of it because, again, it just went on way too long. It was telling me that this guy liked to wake up at 6 a.m. and he liked to have soft-boiled eggs, and I'm like, this is just way too much detail for me. But the long and short of it was this guy, he ended up becoming the head of the army, and he was the nephew of the king. He then became friends with Napoleon and ended up fighting alongside of him in the battle that Napoleon ultimately lost, and this guy died in that battle, and he became like a war hero. So long and short, that's it. It was nowhere near as pretty as the palace, and so if you're pressed for time and or money, I would just do the apartments in the castle. I would skip the gallery as well as this. It was cool though that in the gallery they did have 2 paintings by Rembrandt, so that was pretty neat if you're into art. But overall, the apartments in the castle were the most spectacular, phenomenal thing and totally worth doing. This, maybe skip. So we made it back to the main square, and behind me now is the Mermaid of Warsaw, which has been a symbol of the city and on the coat of arms since 1622. Well, after checking out those churches, David convinced me that it was, in fact, beer o'clock.
Yep, so we came to Elephant Belgian pub to have a Grimbergen.
Yes, which is our favorite beer in Europe. We discovered it when we were in Lithuania and then enjoyed it through Latvia, Estonia. We had it again when we came to Germany and Romania. And now here we found it in Poland.
After our beers, we stopped by a very famous chocolatier to buy some chocolates to take back to our Airbnb.
But food hall was awesome.
It was. There were so many different options, and the just aesthetic of the whole place was very cool. Last stop was to get a drink at one of their bars, and they had the best bourbon selection I have ever seen outside of Kentucky. We got one old-fashioned made with Blanton's Gold, which you can only get in Europe, and then we got another one made with Wild Turkey 101. They also had Rare Breed. They had Elijah Craig's Single Barrel. They had some Heaven's Door. They had Angel's Envy. They had Eagle Rare. Super, super impressive. But definitely recommend coming by this place. They had all types of food as well. But now we're going to get public transport home because, believe it or not, it's like 8:30.
Well, we got a little bit of a late start today, so our first stop is to get some Zapiekanka.
Yes, Zapiekanka is a Polish specialty. We've seen it in most of the cities we've been to. And basically it is a baguette or a loaf of bread that they kind of slice in half, and then they put basically pizza toppings on it, and then they toast it up for you. So like if your mom ever made that, like, you know, lazy baguette style pizza when you were a kid, that's what it is. So it sounded like a great way to start the day.
So just finished up our lunch. I ordered mine with the kielbasa, the bacon, and onion. It was very good.
Yeah, I got mine with chicken and pickles and mozzarella, and then this garlic sauce all over the top. It was super delicious, and they tasted really different. The bread was really nice and fresh, and then he toasted it up, so it's nice and crunchy on the edges. Really, really delicious, and a great price too. Now I think we're actually gonna go get a beer because it's like 80 degrees today, and then finally we'll make it to a museum.
This place is called Beer Heaven, and I can see why. They had 79 taps.
Yeah, we did 2 different tastings of 5 beers each, and there was still a few more that I wanted to try. On the like porter and like stout side, they ended up having 8 different options, which is just unheard of. It was so fantastic. They also had a ton of like Hefeweizens and fruited sours. They had lagers, and of course they had a huge selection of IPAs, but it wasn't just IPAs, which was great. Really, really enjoyed that place. But now we are going to get over to that museum, so we're going to go hop on a bus.
So now we made it to Poland, the Museum of Polish Jewish History.
Yes, the tickets were 45 zloty each, and they do include an audio guide.
If you want to see some horrifying numbers, pause the video here. If you do the math, there were over 5 million Jews killed in Europe during World War II. One fact that we had not heard before is that after World War II, if a Jewish person wanted to leave, the government would not allow them to take more than $5 with them. So the Jews that chose to leave Poland lost everything.
Well, we ended up spending over 2.5 hours inside that museum, and unlike the audio guide from the other day, this one was a lot better. He got straight to the point, didn't ramble on.
Yeah, a lot of good information. It was really interesting just finding out about the history of Jews in Poland and through Europe in general, both long before the war as well as after the war. I highly recommend coming to the museum, and like we said, the audio guide was a really great part of it. Very, very impressive. Just make sure you plan for enough time. Now I think we're going to work our way back into the Old Town.
Well, we just finished up our dinner. I got the kielbasa with sauteed onions and mustard, and it was absolutely delicious.
Yes, your sausage was amazing. I got the chef salad, which was quite good. It had like 3 strips of bacon on it and some grilled chicken and a garlic dressing. Very nice. We also got a jug of the sangria, which I would not recommend. That was so sickeningly sweet. I couldn't even taste the wine. It really just tasted like Kool-Aid. But then we finished with the blueberry pierogi with sour cream, and it was those little tiny tart blueberries that you find through like Europe. It was so good. So overall, definitely did enjoy the place. Just skip the sangria.
Yeah. Well, this morning, our first stop is to get some crepes.
And back when we were in Turin, one of our favorite restaurants was Manekin, and they happen to have a location here in Warsaw, so that's where we're headed now.
So we had another great meal here at Manekin. I got the pancake burger, which is exactly what it sounds like. It was absolutely delicious. It had actually had sesame seeds baked into the pancakes. It was really good.
Yeah, it had a weird handful of Doritos in the top too. But overall, very good. I got the salmon, dill, cream cheese, and onion crepe. Fantastic. I just love this place because it's so reasonably priced and it's so consistently delicious. I wish that they had it in every town in Poland because we would be there. But now we are headed on to the University Library Garden. It's supposed to be very impressive, and it's not that far from here, just 2 metro stops down.
We knew that it was called the University Library Garden, but we didn't realize that the garden was actually the building itself. You climb up the side and can get great views from the lush green rooftop.
We just finished up at the University Gardens, and it was absolutely beautiful. And it's really cool. You can walk on top of the building, the library building, and there's extra gardens up there.
Yeah, it is very impressive, and today was a beautiful day to do it. It is a little warm. I think the high today is 84, but now we are going to head back to a couple of churches that we tried to check out on Saturday. They were both having weddings that day, but they looked very beautiful from what we could see, and we'd love to go in and check them out.
This time we were able to enter the Carmelite Church.
And lucky we were able to, because it is so beautiful in there, definitely worth visiting. And we found out that it is one of only 2 churches that were not leveled in World War II. Unfortunately, Warsaw, after the 1944 uprising, the Germans just basically wiped out everything, as we've seen in many other Polish towns.
Yeah.
But this is an original.
Stopped into Evodel, which is the same store we bought chocolates from the other day.
But today we got their iced milk chocolates. This is made with bitter chocolate. I got mine with cherries and wine.
And mine's the same thing, but with raspberries.
Yeah, very, very delicious. They do give you like a shortened portion if you get it in a to-go cup, but it's very rich. I can see why.
Well, we barely made it into St. Anne's Church before Mass started.
Yeah, the nuns came in and started praying, and then just as we were walking back down the aisle, we heard the priest starting service.
Yeah.
So we didn't get quite as detailed video of the church as we normally do, because we didn't want to disturb anybody, but it is very, very beautiful and definitely worth a visit when you come. Now I think we're actually going to head back to the beer place that we went yesterday. There were just so many great options there, and like I said, it's a hot day.
Yet again, this craft beer bar was awesome.
Yes, highly recommend. I have to say that overall we've definitely enjoyed our time in Warsaw. It has a lot of charm for such a big city. We really enjoyed it. I would say that it is definitely a little bit more expensive than the other places that we've been in Poland, but the old town is very large and there's just so many restaurants and bars to choose from. They have a great kind of like outdoor, like cafe bar culture. It was very, very fun. But now I think we're heading back to the Airbnb to get packed up because tomorrow we're heading on a train to yet another town. So this was our apartment for the past week in Warsaw. You can see we had an area to hang our stuff and take our shoes off. And then right here is the bedroom. The bed was pretty comfortable. Had a TV, we never used it. Good amount of closet space and a powerful AC unit. This was the most sparsely supplied Airbnb we've ever been to. There were no paper towels, there was no dish soap, they had no garbage bags, there was no body wash, there was no salt, so we had to buy everything. And there's one like little half roll of toilet paper provided too. But as you can see, nice big bathroom, bathtub, clean. And then through here, obviously this was the kitchen area. We did actually have a dishwasher. And then in here, we had the fridge. And then there you can see we did have a washer, comfortable small couch, and a little dining table with 2 chairs. And then we had another TV out here. It wasn't a great location, and overall we did enjoy our stay. It was just a lot of upfront expense to supply the place. And now for that cost breakdown. That Airbnb set us back $560 for 7 nights. We spent $33 on transportation, $81 on entertainment, $259 at bars and on alcohol. We absolutely loved the craft beer scene here. We also spent $360 at restaurants, $102 on groceries, and just $11 on personal care. That brings the grand total to $1,406 or $201 per day. Not included in that total was the train that we took from Poznan to Warsaw, which was $37 for the both of us. Thanks for watching, and as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them down below. If you haven't already, check out our last video where we explore the town of Poznan.